drunk theory.
You were supposed to go, I'm right.
Not always.
Yeah. Welcome to Drunk Theory. I'm Kara.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Ryan.
And today we're talking about road trips. Kelly, what are we drinking?
We are drinking the Kentucky Road. So to make this drink, you are going to need Kentucky bourbon. I'm using the Jim Beam Devil's Cut, but whatever you like. The recipe calls for 1.5 ounces, but I'm using a fuck ton because that is the unit of measurement that we like at Drunk Theory.
Fuck ton.
You're going to put in a 1/2 ounce of lime juice and top it off with Coke. And there you have it, the Kentucky Road.
It's pretty good, too.
It's pretty damn delicious, yes.
Who wants to go first? I got a feeling we're going to be going to the cotillion soon.
So, I mean, would y'all rather go first or would you rather me go first and be at the cotillion?
So for some background, this will be what, the third time we've tried to record and we just can't get it right.
Well, I think it's only the second time we actually put any effort into it.
That's true. First time though, we waited too late and we were all way too drunk.
We were too drunk and I couldn't function and I had a shitload of research.
Kelly wrote 87 pages.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll go.
Yeah, let Kelly go first.
Alright.
Go ahead.
So, I am covering Bonnie and Clyde, which is a massive fucking topic. And for this, I read the book, Go Down Together, The True Untold Story of Bonnie and Clyde by Jeff Gwynne. So, I've honestly tried to cut down a lot of this, but it is still a lot. So, we're looking at the period of time, we're looking at 1932 to 1934. Kind of the first event that we want to look at is August 5th, 1932 in Stringtown, Oklahoma. So, Claude Barrow, Raymond Hamilton, and Ross Dyer were out riding around and they rolled upon this pavilion where the town was having a dance. So Bonnie was visiting her mother in Texas and everyone is drinking and having a good time. The cops are there, but they aren't hassling anyone about the illegal boozle because they're like, as long as everybody's not like killing each other, we're alright. So at this point, Barrow, Hamilton, and Dyer are all wanted for various crimes. Armed robbery, auto theft, and even the murder of a store owner. So when the Barrow gang got drunk, they got rowdy and started trying to dance with the local ladies, and that pissed off their dates. So Sheriff Maxwell and Officer Moore realized that shit's about to go down, so they decided to arrest the out-of-towners for drinking. More to keep the peace than anything else. Sheriff Maxwell approached them and told them they were under arrest. The Barrow gang starts shooting. Sheriff Maxwell is wounded and Officer Moore is killed. Barrow and Hamilton escaped and fled back to Texas. Ross Dyer was caught almost immediately. It is assumed that he snitched because it didn't take long for Hamilton and Barrow's names to show up in the paper, and killing a cop means a trip to the electric chair. So, starting here, the reason I'm starting here is because this is kind of the point where Bonnie got involved in everything, because there have been a whole shitload of stuff before this that happened. So, at this point, Clyde Barrow, Raymond Hamilton, and Bonnie Parker all live together, because Bonnie's dating him, but at this point she hasn't actually done anything. August 13th, 1932, Carlsbad, New Mexico. They decide they're going to hide out at Bonnie's aunt's house. Her name is Millie Stamps. So Clyde pretends to be a guy named James White. Raymond pretends to be Jack Smith. Millie calls the cops when she noticed that they had lots of money and lots of guns and didn't fucking realize why. She's like, there's something fucking weird going on here. So she calls the cops on them. Deputy Johns shows up and Raymond and Clyde take him hostage at gunpoint. They drive to San Antonio, Texas, and they let Deputy Johns out of the car unharmed. For the most part, they tried not to kill people, but they do commit a shitload of fucking murders because they're so terrible at fucking crime. So, September 1st, 1932, Raymond Hamilton gets sick of everybody's shit, and he decides he wants to go back home to Michigan. Bonnie and Clyde drop him off in Bay City. Bonnie and Clyde, they travel around in stolen cars, because that's their thing. They steal cars. All the fucking time, they're stealing cars. They stole a car in Illinois and abandoned it in Oklahoma. When police searched it, they found a medicine bottle with Clyde's name on it. Because it could be proven that Clyde transported it across state lines, he was charged with his first federal crime. And that's going to be important later.
Taking your prescription meds across state lines is
stealing a car.
Oh. My bad, I got confused.
Yeah, he stole a car. And
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I zoned out for a minute. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Like, I feel like
It's not you. It's not you. Keep going.
No, I'm sure it's probably me. So, for a while, they just fucking rode around. They went to Michigan, Illinois, Kansas. They'd stay at motels under assumed names, or sometimes they'd stop like at a random farmhouse or something. They'd give the owner a little bit of money, so hey, come and stay. You know, they weren't really starting no shit at this point.
Apparently back then, they like people did that. They
Yeah.
knocked on farm doors and was like, "Hey man, give me a hot dog and I'll cut your grass or whatever."
Yeah, it's totally like, I'll give you $1 if you'll let me sleep in your barn tonight or whatever.
That's wow.
So
I
this
would
is
never.
totally what they're doing at this point in time. So newspapers at the time, they were taking a hit from the Depression. They started reporting on Clyde Barrow and his frequent companion. They almost never mentioned Bonnie by name because nobody believed at that time that a woman could be part of, criminal activity, like a willing participant. So the more papers they sold, the more crimes that Clyde was accused of. Multiple robberies and even a murder in Texas was blamed on him and Raymond Hamilton. Neither one of them was even in the area.
How far away are they at the cotillion place at the first?
We ain't made it to the.
We're not at the cotillion yet.
Oh no! She said the.
But, so the papers are reporting on it, and pretty much everything that's happening at this time is being blamed on Clyde Barrow and Raymond Hamilton because they're known associates. But shit, where they're not even in the fucking state, just like everything is being blamed on them at the time. So, even though wrongly accused, Bonnie and Clyde, they loved the fucking attention. And they saved all the newspaper clippings. Other criminals would briefly team up with them, mistakenly believing that they were going to get in like on big scores and stuff. Like they were criminal masterminds. But then the other criminals would leave soon after a few, disappointing small-time jobs. They were terrible criminals. Like, they were fucking terrible.
They just woke up one day and was like, "Hey, we should do crimes."
So they robbed shit all the time, but, would walk away with really little money. Like, so they were constantly robbing shit. But there was never that big score. So, December 24th, 1932, Bonnie and Clyde return home to West Dallas for Christmas. And they meet up with W.D. Jones, who's a friend of Clyde's little brother. So W.D. worshipped Clyde and wanted to join the gang. The next day, Bonnie, Clyde, and W.D. drove to Temple, Texas. Clyde decided that he and W.D. would rob a grocery store as a way to kind of initiate W.D. into the gang. And W.D. couldn't do it. So Bonnie and Clyde, they made fun of him. They drove around until they found a shitty little car with a key in the ignition. And Clyde told W.D. that he would have to steal the car if he wanted to make it home. So then when he got out and tried to start the car, it wouldn't start because it was shitty. Clyde got in the car and tried to start it himself. Still wouldn't start. The owner of the car, Doyle Johnson, looked out the window and saw, the two men trying to steal his fucking car. He ran out of the house and tried to grab Clyde through the car window, and either Clyde or W.D. or both shot him several times and he died. So Clyde told W.D. that now he was a permanent member of the gang because he had participated in murder. Now, At the same time, Clyde learned that Raymond Hamilton had been arrested for the murder of a store owner in Texas. Clyde knew that Raymond was innocent because Clyde had driven the getaway car after the robbery and murder, so he knew that Raymond wasn't even fucking there at that time. So Clyde decides he's going to bust Raymond out of jail. He visits Raymond's sister, Lillian McBride. He gives her a radio and tells her to bring it to Raymond in jail. The radio has hacksaw blades inside it, so that when he gets it, he has saw his way. He has saw his way through the bars, which is a very kind of Andy Griffith kind of.
Does it work?
So, on January 6th, Lillian drove out to the jail to see her brother and deliver the radio. She does. She delivers the radio. Clyde, Bonnie, and WD had plans to return that night to find out what happened. They didn't realize that 4 cops and an assistant district attorney would be staking out the house that night. So, they had heard rumors that a criminal associate of Raymond Hamilton named Odell Chambliss was in the area and may visit Raymond's sister. So there were all these cops looking for somebody totally different at the time. So when Clyde, Bonnie, and WD pull up, the police think it's the Chamblisses, and when Clyde sees the cops, he immediately gets out of the car with his shotgun and starts fucking shooting. He killed Deputy Malcolm Davis by shooting him in the chest. WD started shooting from the car. Bonnie took off and drove around the block where she caught up with Clyde and picked him up, and it all turned out to be for nothing. So Raymond Hamilton was caught trying to saw through the bars with the hacksaw blades. He was transferred to a more secure jail. On January 13th, one of the officers from the shootout told a reporter that a tough two-gun girl was riding with Barrow. This is the first suggestion that Bonnie may be a functioning member of the gang instead of a silly, lovesick girl. So at this point, they're like, yeah, she's totally in it. So January through March 1933, they're driving through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri. They're holding up grocery stores and gas stations along the way. They're stealing cars whenever they feel like it. WD was acting as a photographer while Bonnie and Clyde posed for pictures. And
he's the one that took all the pictures?
Yeah. So, in March, Clyde's older brother, Buck, and his wife, Blanche, joined the gang. They went to Joplin, Missouri, and rented an apartment together. The girls were going out shopping, and the boys would go out robbing. So that was kind of their life at the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it's kind of cute.
Shut up. That's fucking
Look, if they
creepy.
weren't murdering so many people,
Yeah, I mean,
it would be cute. Yeah. So, April 13th, 1933, Joplin Police Force and Missouri State Highway Patrol, they raided the apartment. The cops didn't know what they were getting into at the time. They were merely suspicious because the group appeared to flash a lot of money. They're like, these people have a lot of fucking money. And none of them have fucking jobs or, anything. So the cops actually just assumed they were bootlegging liquor. Clyde shot and killed County Constable Wes Harriman and Officer Harry McGinnis. WD was wounded in the side. The gang left everything behind in the apartment and headed back to Texas. From there, they traveled through New Mexico, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, and back through Missouri. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, they're all robbing and stealing cars. There's all over the place at this point. In the meantime, cops are searching the apartment. So they find identification for several gang members. They find guns, they find a camera, they find a roll of undeveloped film. When released, the pictures would make the gang superstars. So this is where the pictures that everybody knows now, this is where it came from. It's from the raid on this apartment. July 20th, 1933, Red Crown Tavern in Plate City, Missouri. I don't know, I might be mispronouncing that. The gang was recognized by local police. A posse of 13 patrolmen and county cops with an armored car ambushed the gang at the motel adjoining the tavern. Several police officers were wounded in the shootout. The gang would escape, but Buck had been shot in the head, and Blanche had been injured when glass had flown into her eye. They made it to Dexter, Iowa. From there, the gang planned to travel back to Texas so that Buck could die at home. They knew he was done. The police called up to them again, though. Buck and Blanche were captured. Clyde, Bonnie, and W.D. were injured but managed to escape. Buck died on July 29th from his injuries, and Blanche pleaded guilty to 1 count of assault with intent to kill and was sentenced to 10 years. Clyde, Bonnie, and W.D. fled from Iowa and traveled through Minnesota, Illinois, Nebraska, and Mississippi, committing small-time robberies along the way. September 7th, the gang made it home to Texas, where W.D. decided he was done. Because, like I'm saying, W.D. was arrested in December, but received only 15 years because of his age. He was only 16 at the time. January 1934, Bonnie and Clyde brought Raymond Hamilton and 3 other prisoners out of Easton Prison, killing 1 guard in the process. Texas Ranger Frank Hammer was enlisted to track down the gang. Bonnie, Clyde, Raymond, and fellow escapee Harry Methvin stayed together and robbed 3 banks in 9 days. They traveled to Louisiana to see Methvin's family. From there, they traveled to Arkansas and then back to Texas and then on to Terre Haute, Indiana, where they robbed another bank. March 1934, Raymond Hamilton left the gang with his girlfriend Mary O'Dare and went back to Texas. Clyde, Bonnie, and Henry went back to Louisiana. Second week of March, Sheriff Henderson Jordan contacts Frank Hammer to set a trap for Bonnie and Clyde in northwest Louisiana. Because Clyde was wanted for the federal car theft crime, the one where they knew that he had crossed state lines because of the medicine bottle. Jordan was also able to bring in federal agents from New Orleans. They also enlisted the help of the Methvin family by offering to pardon Henry Methvin if they helped capture Bonnie and Clyde. So over the next few months, there's more murders, more robberies, Bonnie and Clyde are just out there just doing their thing. Wednesday, May 23rd, 1934, Bonnie and Clyde head to the Methvin house for a 9 a.m. meeting with Henry. Knowing that Clyde would stop, they arranged for Henry's father to be on the side of the road with his truck like he had broken down. So Frank Hammer had planned to offer Bonnie and Clyde the chance to surrender, but before he could do that, Deputy Prentice Oakley started shooting. And then everybody started shooting. So about 150 shots were fired, killing both Bonnie and Clyde. Although Bonnie had written that she wanted to be buried next to Clyde, her mother did not honor that wish. She blamed Clyde for everything that had happened, so she was buried in an entirely separate cemetery. And that is all I have on Bonnie and Clyde.
That's sad that they didn't get to be buried together.
They were not buried together, no.
I hate that.
But also, they were terrible people, so should they get what they want out of it?
I mean, you know.
Like, they did a lot of murder.
Yeah.
A whole lot of it.
Alright, so I guess I'm going next. I'm up.
Yeah, you are up.
Alright, so mine is some shit that happened in Chicago. On August 8th, 2004, over the Kinsey Street Bridge, a tour bus belonging to the Dave Matthews Band dumped 800 pounds of shit off of this bridge. While at the same time, there was a tour boat going under this bridge. I'm sorry, hold on. So about 2/3 of the passengers of this boat got covered in Dave Matthews shit. You know, at first they didn't know that it was Dave Matthews Band. But I mean, I guess you don't care. You're just like, apparently the people that were working on this tour boat trying to tell the people that they had just been splashed by water. The people were like, "You're full of shit. This is straight up shit."
Oh, shit.
A bunch of them got sick. I'm talking about like throwing up. Like, apparently, this was the worst thing to ever happen. Somebody had taken a picture of the license plate of the bus. That's how they had to go about determining, who dumped the shit or whatever.
There was an investigation.
So after they found out that it was shit, and it doesn't say why did they tell them that it was water, because in the moment they thought it was water, but everybody is like, it's definitely not fucking water. So I really don't understand how that whole thing happened. But they did refund everybody's tickets.
At what point have they ever driven under a bridge and apparently someone threw a whole pool's worth of water onto them?
That's true. Where would the water even
Even
come
if
from?
it's clean, it's not like it rains in one big chunk. It's not like a fall. Yeah, right. Like imagine a big chunk of water falling down. It would break everybody's neck. Like if you know what I mean. It's like if you jump into water flat, you fuck your shit up. You can't do that. You have to go feet first, or you die if you go so high. You can't just drop a bunch of water on people. They fucking die or fall or.
I don't know what time it is that this happened.
I wish we had this explanation on video.
But after all of that happened, they took the passengers back. They refunded their $25 tickets. They offered to pay dry cleaning bills. A bunch of them went to the hospital, because if I get covered in shit, I'm going to the fucking hospital. Somebody's doing something,
You're supposed to be tested for diseases in case you have open fucking sores.
But the boat people, just gave it a once over and then ran another tour. Which I feel like they should have taken. They should have taken the day off. But whatever. And there's a bunch of shit in here that I'm not gonna read because it's gross and I don't want to know about it. But there was lawsuits.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear about. Who sued Dave Matthews?
Well, and it doesn't say. So, the guy driving the bus, he ended up doing 150 hours of community service. He was fined $10,000. It says to be paid to Friends of the Chicago River, an environmental organization. And he was put on probation for 18 months. Dave Matthews Band donated $50,000 to the Chicago Park District, $50,000 more to the Friends of the Chicago River, and paid the state of Illinois $200,000 in settlement. So I guess the city or whatever, the state fucking sued them and was like, y'all dumb shit on my people. I don't know how that works.
You see, because if Dave Matthews shits on me, I'm suing Dave Matthews. And I don't want him to donate that money to the city or any other bullshit.
Yeah.
He owes me because he shit on me.
They also had to agree to start keeping a log of when and where its buses empty their septic tanks.
I thought you were about to say when and where that.
Why can you empty it while the bus is in motion? Who designed a shitter's full system to empty while you're driving down the road?
I have no idea.
And how does that work? It just sprays.
Right? Exactly.
So, we
Shitter's full.
have an RV, and right now our shitter's full. We were actually talking earlier. We don't know how to empty it.
I think you have to go somewhere and have it done. Like,
I thought you had to.
If you want to
get
donate
out.
to the Drunk Theories Shitter's Full Patreon or whatever, we'll set it up soon. Just let us know.
I didn't know that there was just a button on the inside that you could press that opens it up. I thought you had
don't
to
do that in my yard.
No, we won't.
No.
We're going to drive it to a campground.
Yeah, don't do that shit in my yard.
But this one, it would have had to have been a button on the inside. He didn't stop the bus, get out, and spray these people with shit. The bus was still going. So how does that fucking work? Why is that? That seems like a design flaw. But so, I mean, that's what happened. That's what happened. And
what year did that happen?
2004. So now at this bridge, there is a memorial sign up. It's handwritten, but there's pictures all over. And it says, in August 2004, at this very location, a DMV tour bus dumped 800 pounds of poo on some people. It says, #never forget. I love it. I want to go there just to take a picture of this.
I would also. Oh my God! Dave lives in Chicago. I bet he'll take a picture of this.
Oh shit, Dave! Take a picture of this sign.
Yes. Will you get a picture of the poo sign, please?
But so that's all I got for the Dave Matthews Chicago River incident is what they're calling it. I could have come up with something way better. I'll let them have it, whatever.
Oh no, the Chicago River incident sounds mysterious or whatever.
But then I feel like people who don't have any idea what it is, they're gonna click on it looking for like murder or ghosts, and then they're just gonna get
shit, which is hilarious.
Like, wait, Dave Matthews shit on a bunch of people. But there you go.
Oh shit.
My topic is the Donner or Donner Reed Party, which was from 1846 to 1847, a group of 54 up to about 87 members. I guess you would call it a wagon train? Yeah, because they're traveling the Oregon Trail, like the video game. Started in Springfield, Illinois. Eventually got together with more people in Independence, Missouri, and followed the Oregon Trail. What the fuck?
I'm laughing and she's laughing.
I got tickled about Springfield.
Is this The Simpsons?
Oh shit! It is The Simpsons. I thought it was made up.
They went from The Simpsons house.
Okay, so yeah.
The Oregon Trail.
All right, so it's the spring of '46. There's a whole bunch of other families ahead of him. They're gonna take the same trip. 4 to 6 months, you're there. Now that's a long ass fucking time, but the reason they took the really, really big what do you call that? No, a group of a big ass group of people. Instead of just traveling with you and your 7 other people.
It's a party.
Yeah, your party. That's one party. No, a bunch of other parties get together and they do a
caravan.
Yeah, like a caravan. There you go. Like, I'm trying to think of a word that describes it. Instead of just you and your family, it's you and your family with maybe
that would be a caravan.
10 or 15 other families, and if one family gets low on food, you share. When you get more, you share back. Instead of just your one little family, you have to starve to death. There's enough that everybody can share. So, 4 to 6 months, they go with the other people in the caravan, and they hear about a new route. It's called the Hastings Cutoff, and it's going to be super awesome. It cuts out all the trails that everybody has done before, and instead you cross the Rocky Mountains, which is a great fucking idea. It is not, by the way. And then the fucking Salt Lake Desert in Utah, the Salt Flats, where they do races and shit. All they do is races there. Anybody else that goes there either takes pictures or dies. There's no reason to be crossing this shit. They're going to cross Utah, and it's going to be easy as shit, apparently. It was not. The dude, Hastings, that proposed this, they heard about it at an encampment. And were like, oh, it's supposed to be easier. And if you follow it, he had set up outposts every, I want to say 15 or 20 miles, where you could get supplies and do this or that. And he was at one, and he sold maps and this and that, and said further along, they've cut the way, it's already been done, like the other trail where you just went. This way had a bunch of trees and shit in the way that were supposed to be cut, because someone ahead of them went, and they got there, and they gave up because it was too fucking hard. So there's no one ahead of them to help anybody at all. So they turned south to follow the Hastings cutoff, to go back around, found it to be way harder than it was, and they're having to lock the wheels of their wagons to keep them from rolling down the crazy-ass inclines while they're waiting for the dudes to chop the fucking way. Why would you go through a mountain? I don't get why they thought this was a good idea. I can't understand it. So, the Oregon Trail, it's been 4, 5, 6 years. You just went through easy as shit. The Hastings
Unless
cutoff.
you got dysentery.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, the other way you have to deal with dysentery, and there's no kind of markings. So like, there's not wagon fucking ruts and shit like that. There's nothing at fucking all, because everybody that went that way, he paid, and they just took the money and kind of did half-ass and then left. So they get past the little bit of bullshit. Hastings wrote directions and left the letters stuck to trees. A couple of weeks later, they find a letter from him that they should stop until he could show them an alternate route taken by another party that tried to take his route, and it didn't fucking work. Reed, which is the Donna Reed party, that's one of the other members. Stanton, one of the other men who had helped join them along the way, and William Pike, one of the original men, rode ahead to get Hastings, find out what's going on. They found a bunch of crazy-ass canyons and boulders that were going to have to be moved, and a whole-ass river right next to a precarious path that you could barely get through with just the horses they had. The letter Hastings gave to them offered to guide them around a different way. He didn't go the whole way. He went part of the way and decided it was okay. Sent them that way. 4 days after they left, no guide came to help them. Their ways all fucked. They had to either turn back and go to the traditional route or follow the tracks left by that Harlan Young party that went their own little way. That's super hard to find, like I said. They decided to go through it to Weber Canyon, forge their own trail that Hastings recommended, and they were going 1.5 miles a day, having to cut the brush and everything. A mile and a half, imagine every day. And this is a 4 to 6 month trek, so they're going, normally I'm sure, 30, 40 miles a day at least with horses. They're even trotting. That would be easy. It's insanity. Damn. So they get across what's called the Wasatch Range of the Rocky Mountains. The Graves family, which one of the men had left, reached them. There were, Franklin Graves and his wife, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 children, one of them married, and then a random 25-year-old teamster named John Snyder. They had 3 wagons. They decided to join them. So that gave them 87 members total, just in their party, with 60 to 80 wagons to go through this unknown terrain. What did they think was going to happen? Really?
Well, I'm sure not that.
If right now, if I left in my car with food and a bunch of shit and a 4-wheel drive, whatever, and you told me to drive through the Rocky Mountains, I would assume whoever's with me might get eaten or may eat me. Absolutely. What else you gonna do? You're gonna die. I mean, seriously.
I've never went on a road trip.
Thinking that I was gonna get
yeah. I think that they would have stayed home if they thought that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there.
Do you know what's at home? Dysentery. So
but
what
food.
are you gonna? Okay, that's better. Okay.
They're gonna get dysentery either way.
They had their 87 people. They left July 21st, so August 20th, about 3 weeks later, they reached the point in the mountains. They finally saw the Great Salt Lake Desert. It took 2 more weeks just to get out of the rest of the mountain range after they saw this from the top of it. That's how slow they're moving. They get down there, arguing like a motherfucker about how smart the guys who chose this route were. That's literally what it says. These motherfuckers are dumb as shit. Why did we go this way? What is this here? Oh, it's a bunch of salt. What grows near salt? Fucking nothing. It's barren. You know what you do when you want to fuck up the earth? You salt the earth. Most of the food and supplies for everyone were getting low. A lot of the less affluent families, the ones that didn't have a lot of money, were almost completely out, which should not have happened. Most people brought enough to last the whole trip plus a month or so, even if you were poor, so you didn't die, because you might get dysentery. So, August 25th, 5 days later, Luke Halloran died of tuberculosis. A couple of days later, they found a new letter from Mr. Hastings, all tattered and fucked up, saying they were 2 days and nights of travel ahead with no grass or water or anything. Now, 3 days in the heat and you're going to die without water, so they waited 36 hours to go 1,000 feet. They get down to, according to one of their guys, one of the most inhospitable places on earth. All their shit gets sunk in. At night, it gets super fucking cold. They start having fucking visions and shit. After 3 days, there's no water. And a couple of the guys, like with their oxen that were still moving, just said fuck it and kept trying to go. Alright. Most of the animals were left attached to the wagons because they couldn't fucking move. And what are you going to do with a big ass ox that you can't move? So, 9 of Mr. Reed's oxen just broke free and ran the fuck off because they were so thirsty. A bunch of the other cattle and horses went missing. A 40-mile journey that was going to take 2 days has now, 6 days in, a couple of the men decide they're going to go ahead to Sutter's Fort. Apparently, John Sutter was a man who had made the way originally and had the fort set up to help you if you got there with free food, directions, things like that. So they sent a couple of men ahead, Charles Stanton and William McCutcheon, got a couple of serviceable wagons, cow, ox, and mules all mixed together on one fucking thing, and went to go the 40 miles ahead that was all fucking desert. They got there to the next little section, so they met some Native Americans across the path and joined them for a couple of days, but they shot a couple of their oxen and horses, stole them, and left. It's already in October. A bunch of the families split off to try to make better time. None of them going very well. A whole bunch of fucking just shit happened. One of the oxen would not move, so Mr. Milt Elliott just decided to beat the shit out of it. The guy that owned it didn't like it, so he took a whip handle and tried to beat him to death. So the guy's wife stabbed that guy and killed him because they're all mad because nobody's moving. So everybody got together, discussed what was going to happen. So apparently he got to leave the camp with his family with a compromise instead of hanging him, but he got no shit. Nothing. So his stepdaughter went ahead, left him some stuff secretly, and he got that and got away from these crazy motherfuckers because, you know, everybody's all pissed off because of these weird trial-ass things they've been having. There's no grass for the animals to eat. Another guy's died because his feet are all fucked up. They left him by the side of a river. He was almost 70. That was their thing. That's exactly what they said. They caught up with the donor party. That's the Reeds and the rest of them. And they get a little farther. They've lost 100 ox so far. So they've got only one more stretch of desert right ahead of them. The Eddie's family had all their shit stolen by that's the ones who lost their stuff, the Native American family, and nobody else would help them or their kids, so they're having to walk and carry their kids. So they end up getting left by the side of a river. They get to the Sierra Nevada, one of the men who left earlier from California found them, brought mules, food, and a couple of Native Americans, and told them that a couple of the two guys that had left earlier reached Sutter's Fort finally, but it took so long, they were half starved, that they didn't think the rest of the party would ever even fucking make it. So they get to the last mountain, that's the Donner Pass, which they named after them. And it's super fucking icy because it's way fucking later than it's supposed to be. They were supposed to be there like a month ago. It's in the middle of October. At this point, another man has accidentally died because a gun was discharged negligently. He probably just killed him. I'm guessing that's... Every one of these stories sounds suspect as fuck. So this guy has just killed by a guy who accidentally shot him when his gun was loaded. As they're traveling, another fucking wagon breaks down. They try to make a replacement, and George Donner sliced his hand open while he was chiseling wood for the new wheel. It seemed to be not that bad. Snow started coming down super fucking crazy, and they got ahead to a fucking slope that was, according to them, almost completely vertical. It's now known as Donner Lake at the bottom of it on the other side, but this is a 1,000-foot peak, which will be almost impossible to do just walking. So everybody's trying to cross over the pass, but they were getting to 5 and 10-foot snowdrifts, which is taller than they were, and there was nothing they could do. So they started going back to Truckee Lake, which is where there was an encampment at, a half a day below them. So 60 of them are left, roughly, because a lot of the murders and killings weren't discussed. And some of the guys left and whatnot. They found 3 cabins that were used at Murphy Lake. One had the Breens in them, the Eddies in another, and the Murphys in the last. And that's the name of the camps or whatever. The dude that was carrying his kids had to build a lean-to because no one would help him because they're all assholes. No windows or doors for any of the cabins because they had been there for so long. Just big-ass holes for entry, so they put animal hides over everything. They've got 19 men, 12 women, 29 children. 6 are toddlers or younger. They have almost no food. Oxen are dying. When they do, they freeze them, stack them up, eat them slowly, but still, the lake isn't frozen, but there's nothing to catch because it's so fucking cold. At the very first week or so, they kill a bear. They eat that. Doesn't matter. Reed family's almost completely gone. Eddie family has lost almost everything. And then the Reed family promised to pay double when they got to California to use some oxen from the Grave family who still have some left. They charged them $25 an oxen. They're trying to figure out what they want to do, where they want to go, and they went in small groups at a time trying to figure out where they could, and every time they had to come back because it would be like super bad storming, or they get to a fucking place where the snow was 12 or 13 feet deep and you can't fucking cross it. They started taking the ox hide, stripping it, and boiling it to make jelly of some kind. That sounds fucking terrible. Then they would take the bones of the ox and the horse and just boil them over and over to make soup. That's how little shit they had. And then at some point, they started eating the rug they had because it was made of ox hide. They were out of everything. One of them fashioned a whole bunch of snowshoes out of ox bows and hide after they had died. And 17 men, women, and children set out to go to cross that mountain pass. 2 of them turned back almost immediately. The rest of them kept going. Got to 3 days in, got snowblind, 2 days with no food, and then one of them proposed that somebody should volunteer to die in order to feed the rest of them. That's how bad it got. They decided maybe a duel, and then the other one just said, let's just walk until someone falls. someone, as they were arguing at some point over the next day, died. His name was Antonio. Then Franklin Graves died, the second man. There wasn't that many of them. Dolan, third guy, died. And they didn't eat the first two, but Dolan, they did. It's very weird. They didn't want the first two guys that died, but this guy went crazy, started ranting. After he died, they went just buck wild and started eating him. It's very confusing.
Well, they were probably not wanting to eat anybody. So the first guy, they were probably like, you know what, I'll just not eat.
Okay.
Second guy died, they're probably like, still good. I'm
Yeah.
just not going to eat. I'm just not going to eat. And then by the time that third guy dropped, I mean, it's probably like, I can eat him or I can die.
Yeah.
Which I think I would probably just have to die. I don't know that I can eat a person.
Well, I would never be in this situation because I would never take off on a trek like this.
Yeah.
Like, if it is the apocalypse or if I'm about to die, I'm gonna die like on the porch drinking margaritas. Like, I'm not going off on a trek.
Not running for damn sure.
I'm not running. You know, I'm not doing any of this shit. No, I'm not getting on a fucking wagon. I'm not getting in a fucking car. I'm not, you know, it's like,
fuck this horse shit.
If the world is over, I'm sitting right the fuck here, watching TV till it goes out, drinking margaritas, and then when the zombies eat my brains or whatever, that's fine.
So they eat Mr. Dolan a little bit. The next day, just a little bit. They ate a bunch, just a little bit. Then the next day, they stripped a whole bunch of the organs and muscles of him, Antonio, Graves, and Murphy, everybody that had died on the trip, to store for the days ahead.
So were they carrying these dead people with them? They didn't just leave them where they were?
They're parts of them.
No, but so like the first
Well, have they moved since the people died?
They were standing around, they were like waiting around arguing to decide who to eat because they were so hungry. If they kept,
So they
didn't have the energy to walk.
They were all just already there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought they were still moving
no.
and just carrying dead.
Well, they were kind of moving, but not much. Yeah. So, 3 days rest. They started moving again, trying to look for this trail. Was not doing very well. Another guy died. It's been 25 days. It's been 25 days since they left Truckee Lake. That's the place where they are at. They find another man who went off on his own, hadn't eaten in 9 days, was about to die. Then they found a different Native American settlement that actually helped them. Gave them some food and shit. They kept going with the help of the members, found a small farming community at the edge of Sacramento Valley, and tried to get a rescue party to go back to get them. Took them 33 days to get there without a bunch of wagons and bullshit and toddlers and all that shit. Just normal, healthy guys. Fucking hell. So, Mr. James Reed tried to go back and help.
So
he went, got 12 miles from the top, had to turn back.
So what were they running from? Like, why did they need to be on this journey to begin with?
The people would go west to be the first settlers at a new place and maybe get
it's like
rich.
That movie when Nicole Kidman. Was it one of those things where if you just go there, then you just
then
own
you get
that
free
shit?
land?
Yeah. Is that what it was?
40 acres and a mule, I think that was earlier. That could be. I don't know.
I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm not
that
doing all that
makes more
bullshit
sense.
just for the fun of it.
Yeah, I mean, how bad was it where they were living?
Yeah.
That they felt like they needed to fucking
hightail it out of there. Like.
A dozen people and 30 horses going to rescue everybody. They're set out from the Sierra Nevada, heading back. There's not a lot of people because everybody's in the Mexican-American War, so there's not a whole lot of able-bodied men to help do that. So, a dozen men, 30 horses, heading to help them. They get there, get to the big-ass pass, have trouble, get through. They had to walk the last fucking mile on foot and still get to 12 miles from the top. Can't do anything. 7-men rescue party arrive and take 23 people back of the 44. 44 left of them, 87 original. God damn, that's bad. So, they get there, the roofs are all falling in, the fucking houses or cabins look fucking terrible. They take 23 people back with them. George Donner's arm is completely gangrenous from that little cut he got way earlier from doing the wagon wheel. Yeah, he is almost like dying already. Looks like everybody made it back to Bear Valley safe until one of the 13-year-olds died from starvation. God damn. So they go back to get the second party, the 21 that were left. George Yunt went to help them. They arrived March 1st, so they've been there 3 months in the winter. God damn. They say they're relatively well, but according to them, past the limits of description and imagination, they were so emaciated. Some of them were so crazy and they hadn't eaten in so long they were almost completely blind. No vitamins whatsoever, because you get like scurvy and all kinds of crazy shit. It said nobody had died in between the first and the second relief, but a lot of the bodies that were already there were mutilated. The already dead ones they had been eaten on. 17 got back. 5 people stayed at the lake, and they were going to get a third relief party to get the last 5 of them, mostly the rest of the Donner family. They came back. The people were too starved and apathetic to do anything, and they had to just fucking leave them and assume they starved to death. It was known as starvation camp because they were just beyond saving, basically, I guess. And I mean, who's going to walk back if it's 33 fucking days to save someone who doesn't want to leave? So, of the 87 people that initially left out, 48 people survived of 87. The only whole families that lived were the Reed and Breen families. Pretty much everybody else, half the family to the whole family, died. 3 mules reached California, though, of all the animals.
Yeah, if there's ever a situation where it's like, we gotta hightail it out of here or we're gonna die, just assuming that I'm not fucking going anywhere. No. At that point, I'm already lost. Because I feel like I'm the slowest, so somebody's gonna trip me or something to feed me to the zombies or whatever the fuck is chasing us. So I might as well just stay the fuck at home.
Yeah, I'm probably...
You come over here. Yeah. You come over here. Yeah.
Hell, we can record.